Nerderotic.com.
Welcome back to the Nerderotic channel. My name is Gary Beekler, and I come to you from Nerderotic.com, and we are here to talk about Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 1, Brother. Yes, STD has flared up again, so if you're itching to get to it, we can get to it. Now, I've done a live stream on this as well. I will link it in the description. If you're new to the channel, this is what we've always done. We do live visceral reviews right after it airs. They usually go for about half hour, 45 minutes. So for those of you who don't want to sit through the big long live streams, I'm going to be doing these short videos as well. And we're going to do this with the Orville additionally. So let's get to it. For those of you who actually paid to watch this show, you will remember, or maybe you won't, I wouldn't blame you for blocking it out of your mind, that the Enterprise showed up at the end of last season. And of course, last season was a hot mess. They mucked around in the mirror universe, missing the entire war that Michael Burnham started. But of course, at least she finished what she started by ending the Klingon Federation war with a fake detonator, convincing 9 Klingons to stop fighting. Before I go any further, I want to say spoiler alert. I will be spoiling the episode from here on out, so if you haven't seen it, go see it, come back and watch this video, or just skip it, and I'll save you about an hour if you just wait the next few minutes while I give you this review. So we're at Sarek's house. He's taken Michael Burnham to meet his wife Amanda for the first time, and of course her parents died, and to meet their son Spock. So as they introduce Michael Burnham to Spock, Spock is a little prick. He doesn't want to meet her. Now this would be normal behavior, somewhat, with a human kid, but with Spock you would expect a little different, a little curiosity, but no, he just blows her off. He's playing some computer game thing, and he throws up some graphics and creates this serpent to scare Michael Burnham. She puts her hand out to shake his hand, and he slams the door in her face. So they didn't waste any time pissing off Trekkies and Trekkers with that one. And oh, it gets better as we go on. But that was the point of my notes where I said frack this show, and I didn't use the word frack. We catch up to the current timeline, and the Enterprise has experienced some sort of catastrophic failure in pursuit of one of those 7 red bursts that had spread itself 30,000 light years throughout the galaxy in some form of synchronicity. The Federation thought that was some sort of a signal and worthy of investigation, and Pike is going to take over the Discovery. Mikey Spock is a little nervous because she thinks she's actually going to see Spock, but he does not beam aboard with her, and she thinks something's up with that. Pike doesn't really tell her what's up. He just tells her to temper her expectations. And of course, the crew is a little nervous around a new captain because they have Lorca, PTSD, I guess. And he quickly shows them that they can trust him. Never mind the thousands of Federation officers and billions of people that just died in a big old war. They need to worry about their trust issues with the captain. They go over very briefly that Michael Burnham started the Klingon War, but that's something that I don't think they're ever going to mention again and try to forget about it. And it does seem like a little bit of an apology episode. There's a couple of things. For one, there's humor. There's actual humor in. Oh, no, sorry. There's an attempt at humor in this episode. They try to get very Orville, with the elevator scene that you've seen in the trailer, and they try some one-liners that just do not land at all. Anson Mount is the best thing in this. He's pretty decent as Pike, but unless you take away the whole Mikey Spock relationship, those hideous-looking Klingons, the effects of the war, you're not going to win me over with this show. It would take a lot. They would have to basically erase history and start from scratch. There's some getting to know you with Pike and Lieutenant Connolly, who is going to be, well, what we think, the butt of many jokes throughout the season, but maybe not. And then we have a quick scene with Stamets and Tilly. Stamets tells Tilly that he is transferred. He's going to teach at the Vulcan Science Academy because the ship reminds him of Hugh. Tilly, of course, is still up in command training, and please, if you're ever on a ship with Captain Tilly, she'll be Killy Tilly, but she'll get you killed. I would get a transfer off that ship immediately. Alex Klutzman wrote this episode, and it shows in the next scene, which is particularly horrific. And it's between Smilin', Smirkin' Sarek and Mikey Spock, and they discuss Spock, and we find out that Sarek wanted Mikey Spock to teach him empathy, because Vulcans need to be taught empathy. And they even mention, well, wouldn't you learn empathy from your mother? But apparently Spock's reverence for his mother would fill the room. Oedipus Spock. But it gets worse. They allude to something possibly sexual between those two. I don't know what you guys got out of it, but that's what I got out of it. Apparently there was some connection between Spock and Mikey Spock at one time, but then something happened and it broke it. Well, YouTubers, critics, and fans, if you ever think creatives don't hear our complaints, the next scene, we get a roll call on the bridge. They actually do a roll call to introduce their characters. We are 16 episodes into this series, and we finally know the names of the crew. Well, you know them by people repeating their names. We'll see if they actually repeat them. I can't remember them at this time because I've only seen it twice, but they actually did a frackin' roll call. While brainstorming on the bridge, Pike gets tired of people telling him the problems without solutions and kind of cuts Michael Burnham off. And then she lectures him for the first time this episode that if he would have let her finish, she would have given him the correct answer. He just needed to shut up. They arrive at their destination looking for the little red dot, and it's a broken up asteroid, and their interaction with it causes it to start colliding with a pulsar, and they find, of course, a Federation vessel. So, hey, exposition action scene for Star Trek Discovery, the one comicbook.com called the best action scene in any Star Trek episode ever, and it wasn't. It was certainly the most expensive, but expensive and shiny doesn't mean good. It was very busy, it was shaky camera. The interesting thing about it, though, it was four of them had to go down in pods to go down to this asteroid because they couldn't beam down there. And of course, Michael Burnham had been the test pilot on these pods, and she can do 9Gs for 11 seconds, apparently. So she, of course, Pike puts her in the lead because, well, she's Michael Burnham. And they head down, and Connolly, who was the butt of the joke in the elevator, pops off, and he's basically the dumb white guy who needs to get killed, so they killed the dumb white guy. After Connolly's death, Pike's ship gets cracked, and he can't eject because his helmet won't close. So, of course, Michael Burnham to the rescue. He orders her to continue down to the asteroid because he's already lost an officer, and she pulls up under him. And by the way, while they were flying around in this asteroid field, every time they talked to each other, they would turn around and look at each other. So Michael Burnham, in this clear-looking pod, flies under Pike and looks up at him while she's talking and lectures him again that he needs to trust her, although he just gave her a direct order. Mind you, there's asteroids everywhere, but about 30 seconds to a minute into this action scene, they didn't even bother avoiding them. They're just flying down straight. So Mikey Spock ejects from the ship, saves Captain Pike. They make it to the asteroid and into the Federation ship, where they meet Commander Denise Reno, who's running an intensive care unit. Most of the ship had gotten away, but the critical people had to stay, people and aliens, and she was able to keep them alive because she's an engineer, and bodies and alien beings are just machines. They really wanted to show you that Commander Reno was the amazing woman of science. She had invented these little flying robots that she calls her kids that helped her do surgery, open heart surgery. When they walked in on her, she was doing brain surgery. So, of course, I told you they couldn't beam down to the ship, but they figure out a way to beam back up because Mikey Spock is there. So they beam back up, but they accidentally leave Mikey Spock, and this is where she sees the Red Angel. The Red Angel, of course, female figure of some kind. My guess, it's probably Michael Burnham visiting herself from the future saying, yep, everything else all right because you're in charge. Prior to Mikey Spock going down to the meteor, Tilly had asked her to pick up a piece of the meteor because the spores were acting funny and starting to flare up, and they actually mentioned tardigrades in this episode, so I think Anas owns a piece of this one too. Maybe not for showing the blue tardigrade, but screw it. I think you deserve it, Anas. Who is Anas Abdeen? Anas Abdeen is the creator of Tardigrades, and he is suing Star Trek Discovery for the big blue tardigrade and other things. Please see video linked in the description. So, after Mikey Spock sees the Red Angel, Captain Pike beams down kind of through her, picks her up, but she is unable to keep the rock, won't beam up with her. So they beam back. Everybody's okay because nobody thought they wouldn't get away from this because it's Mikey Spock and there's absolutely no tension in this show. It's a very pretty candy-colored turd. So the episode wraps up in kind of a mess. I mean, they had this big action scene. They saved the commander. They were able to get a piece of the asteroid on board the Discovery, and apparently it's going to help them interact with dark matter. It's clear that the Red Angel lured them there to save the Hiawatha. And then Mikey Spock has a conversation with Captain Pike, and they discuss Spock. Pike tells her that Spock had some form of spiritual crisis and took a vacation, so she decides to go over to the Enterprise and go through his things, like any normal sister would do. She listens to his last log, and he mentions the Red Angel, and she goes over and throws up the graphics that he did that graphic serpent to scare her, and it shows the map of the 7 red lights, and she starts crying, and that's her connection to Spock, and that's going to be the mystery this season. So Spock almost destroyed in one episode. I think that's pretty impressive, but only Alex Klutzman could have done it. If you want to hear more discussion on this, we did a full live stream, like I said before. It is linked in the description. Please go to nerdrotic.com for a live schedule. And this is how we're going to do things from here on out. We're going to do a big long live stream to discuss it afterwards, and a short video if you just want to hear my review. We want to serve the needs of the people. Everybody have a wonderful day. Watch the Orville. That will be our next video. May the small folks sing songs of your greatness.
Nerdrotic.com. Please subscribe.